Welcome back and good morning once again. If you're just joining us, this is still Daybreak Africa. Well, today in our studio we have Felix Ijeh, who's an economist, and we'll be discussing the Naira recovery and the recent measures CBN is about to take to stabilize the Naira against the dollar in the parallel markets. Good morning and welcome to Daybreak Africa.
Yeah, good morning.
A very good morning to you.
Yes.
All right, we'll be going straight to the discussion, but I must say, I feel great though, but the issue of the Naira devaluation on the daily is alarming, and it's not a thing that is a welcome development, especially for the Nigeria economy. Now, when the new administration came in, there was an announcement of the unified exchange rate that is going to be able to be a positive one for us, and most economists believe it's a very nice move. Now, before we even go to if it's a positive one or if it is working for us right now, I want to know what is the concept behind a unified exchange rate? That is first. And secondly, if it is really working for Nigeria economy as at this moment as we speak.
Okay, the reason for the unification of the parallel market rate and the official windows is to remove what is referred to as round tripping. Round tripping is when this hard currency is obtained from the Central Bank of Nigeria at official rate. Then it was 400 and something. Then the parallel market rate was around over 700. So buying at 400, selling at 700, making about 300 without any efforts, without adding any economic value. All these activities, a kind of jack up prices of goods and services. And again, I think that is a major target and a major benefit. It will remove the fund from those who are not adding value to the economy, but just getting funds through round tripping. It's supposed to add value. The expectation was that by the time you remove the activities of these middlemen who are doing this round tripping, then we'll look at those ones that are officially sourcing for foreign currencies. We mean the importers, we mean the students that are studying outside that want to pay their fees. Then those ones that are working in the country that want to move their fund back to their families, I mean foreigners here. So these are the source through which we consume foreign currencies. But how do we now talk of benefiting much if our productive capacity, I always keep on hammering and repeating it, if our productive capacity is still very low, it then means the price of foreign currency should be determined by those ones that are supplying us the goods and services that we are consuming. So the only benefit, the only and major benefit is that it removes those who are not adding value in the economy from benefiting from it. And again, without pronouncement alone, the few individuals that were actually getting these funds from Central Bank of Nigeria at a regulated rate, which made it very easy and made it very possible for them to do their legal activities. This also mount pressure on them, jacking up the cost of production in Nigeria, because when they obtain foreign currency at a very high rate, it will impact on the cost of production, that is their input. Then at the end, the price they are going to sell, the market price will go up. So within a short time, the closure of the gap made prices to jump up. So we had an increase in price for over 24-25%, especially in food prices over 25 to 26%. So we've not had it so bad since inception, since over a decade. But there's not much we can do until we tight different areas, different nodes through which we are losing our funds, until we are able to start producing for the economy what we are going to consume. So it will continue to be like this until we put our hands together.
Okay, well, according to the CBN governor, he said the fluctuation in the parallel market is not solely driven by the economic factors, but also by the speculative demand. So what's your take on this particular one?
The CBN governor is actually very, very right. Okay. I always hammer on that Nigeria is driven by speculation. That even I mentioned it now, that before you announce, then the Nigerian economy will start applying. So the speculation is that a lot of people are thinking that the dollar may not be available. As CBN said, they will be making it available, or if they close the gap, that means instead of going to black market to buy, you can go to CBN to buy. We CBN make it available. So with that thinking, people are hoarding, keeping these foreign currencies back. They won't bring it out. And as they are not bringing it out, those that need it will still need it at that particular time. So the exchange rate will keep going up. There are measures that actually affect exchange rate. We have our local interest rate and inflation rate. Our local interest rates have positive impact, or they go in the same direction. As local interest rate is going up, exchange rate is also going up. As inflation is going up, exchange rate is also going up. So both of them are actually high in Nigeria as at now. And as our interest rate is high, inflation rate is high, exchange rate will be high. Also, exchange rate also affects inflation. And the crop of it all is that both exchange rate, inflation, interest rate, all of them depend on transactions that are taking place in the economy. And the source of such transaction, that is the productive capacity. What do we export? What do we import? How do we consume what we have? What is available and what is the level of demand? So those are the questions that we need to keep on asking ourselves if we need to actually change the narrative.
All right, now if we are talking about bringing our Naira back to where it's supposed to be, that is the major focus now. And you said in your statement that we need to tie some knots that's going to put this thing. Now, when we talk about bringing this Naira to where it's supposed to be, we also talk about the small and medium scale enterprises in the country. We will also talk about this. Now we are going to say those things that will go back to the fuel subsidy removal. All these things connecting those dots together. In a country where our economy is dollarized, we hardly produce things. Our small scale businesses are almost going into extinction because they can't even survive due to the removal of fuel subsidy. How do we see these things being feasible for a Nigeria that we are right now to bring our economy to where we are now, our Naira to be strengthened?
The part of recovery of the nation is not something that we should be looking at that can be feasible within the next 2-3 years. Because where we are, the level we are, the population of those that are below poverty line are too many. And again, our consumption is very high compared to the income we are generating. Down our capacity for the national economy to generate enough income to bring about capital expenditures that will revamp the system is also very low. So apart from the fact that there is pressure this time because of what I refer to as tax, I call it petroleum tax. By the time you remove subsidy, you have actually imposed tax on the people, and the petroleum tax is so heavy that every home is feeling it. We are talking of palliative, and the palliative we are talking of is for consumption mainly. Very many of us waiting for palliative want to collect what we are going to consume. So investing in it is a bit difficult because it has been eroded by inflation. So it will only take an economy that make conscious efforts to re-engage people, moving a lot of pressure from the urban centers down to the rural centers. That is exactly what a lot of developed economies do. We have a lot of concentration of people within the urban center that some of them are not even doing anything. They are only interested in middlemen activities, which is not adding any value. So prices at the center is high, a bit higher than prices within the rural communities. Therefore, creating roads, urbanizing the rural environment, we kind of move people away from the urban areas down to the rural areas to add value. That's the only way people can move away from there. Then a kind of bringing balance between prices of goods and services within the urban centers and that of the rural areas to help to reduce the price of goods and services. Again, there must be conscious effort for employment to take place, especially from the government, because as at now, though the economy depends on small and medium-scale enterprise, but a lot of people are employed by the federation, by the federal government. So if a lot of people are employed by the federal government, that means federal government will be looking for how to mobilize funds continuously to run recurrent expenditure. And if you check from our budget, recurrent expenditure almost take more than 60% of our total budget. Then the remaining one that is supposed to be for capital expenditure, we'll talk of servicing our debts. Eventually, we'll go borrowing again. So conscious effort must be made to employ. And this conscious effort is going to be the government channeling the funds to revamp the small and medium scale enterprises. This could be done through proper engagement of our youth, especially those ones that are just graduating. If you go to our camps for youth service, ask a lot of our graduates, ask them what is the next thing. Nobody knows what he will engage himself in. So the entrepreneurial efforts that they are putting within the NYC camp, they must make sure that it will not stop there. If you train a child on entrepreneurial activities without following him up to know and to make sure that he apply what is learned, that learning will be totally trashed within a short time. Therefore, as they are there, instead of looking for how to gather information, talking of distributing cash which may not add value, you talk of distributing cash to these young men who are preparing to start life. The funds in their hands will be better utilized than the one you are going to give to people to consume. And if it's utilized, if we are enduring, let us endure for now and let these funds be properly placed so that within a short time they will be creating employment, they will be creating job. And once job is created, it will have a trickle-down effect to different families and it will be a better way out. So a way out, the funds we are getting from petroleum sector, the palliative that federal government want to come up with, I don't think, though they've started, but I don't think it's going to add much value. If you talk of buying rice, buying garri within a short time, but let's be very sure that even the rice and garri we are buying, that we are buying Nigerian products.
Exactly. I want to come in from what you said earlier. You said we should be enduring, and we understand that for policies to come in, we possibly look into the short run and the long run effects of these things. Now, if we are asked to endure, of course, we should be able to say, okay, there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. But right now, the situation that we are facing right now in Nigeria, most Nigerian citizens, they are not even seeing anything that is coming good. And they will say, okay, if I'm saying I want to endure, I want to wait for something that is going to be, of course, you also made mention that the reforms they are looking for can't even be made available in the next 2-3 years. Yeah. So we should be enduring. So possibility of the government that says in their 4 years tenure, they are going to put everything back on track. And you are telling us now, right now, it can't be feasible. It's not going to be possible in the next 2-3 years. So if Nigerians are to be suffering, most Nigerians will tell you, bring back our fuel subsidy. Let us just enjoy it, because that's the only dividend we think we are enjoying from the government. Okay. This has been taken away. Now, if we say we want to endure, things are not coming good for us. What do you expect a Nigerian to do, especially for a consuming nation that we are? You talked about employment that needs to be looked into. But right now, our economy has been dollarized. So if you are going to tell a Nigerian that, okay, this is going to be a thing that is going to help us, what are the signs that the government needs to show for us to say, okay, let us endure, there is going to be something good at the end of the day?
Okay, I started by trying to explain that it's going to take time before there will be a total change. I am emphasizing the transfer of funds, the movement of resources that is now being gathered from fuel subsidy removal, how it's going to be redistributed or reinjected into the economy. The reinjection process will determine the outcome in the long run, whether it will be favorable or not favorable. I was about saying that if we are talking of, because I notice a lot of local governments are trying to buy rice, beans, trying to distribute, then the little stock we have available, they are bringing it out so that we share at least to eat now. What is the source? Are they local? If they are not local products that we are sharing, we are causing more harm than good. If we are not, if the beans we are sharing, if we are importing some of them, then it's going to be a bigger problem for us, because that means the little fund we have, we are still pushing it out. I also mentioned that in order to channel it, we have to look for these young men that the activities are mainly very, very volatile. If they are not handled properly, there will be security challenges. And once there is conflict, productivity will dive down again, and price of goods and services will go up. And the areas to pick them are especially the very fresh graduates. Give people hope, give them hope that there is life after service. Then again, our education system, this is the time that the government should pay special attention to education, to healthcare. These two especially, and also to transportation. For education, they should look at those ones in school, because these are the places who have the youth, the youth that their actions can change things. So if they are reorientated, then their focus will kind of drive the economy to where we are expecting. There is no, if we talk of how long we are going to wait, how long we are going to endure, the government will keep on saying endure, but they must show some little sign. Those signs now are, if you talk of fuel subsidy removal, the president, just like he announced last time he addressed the nation, which is very good, he should constantly do that so that people will know actions that are being taken. The funds that are being moved to the state government, from state government to local government, they are already doing it. Then he should ask for reports. How is it distributed? How is it used? I will started seeing letters that some state governments are writing to local governments, telling that they move certain amount of money to them. Yet the account that is that they put forward for the fund to be transferred also belong to the state government. It's a kind of rat tripping again, starving the community, starving the local center, then taking the fund back to the government. So it's going to be a lot of pressure. But let me just, there's something I want to mention. Recently, the central bank came up to, they met with the presidency, they discussed with the president, and they explained what they are doing or what they want to do because of the pressure, because the president called them. Then they actually made us to understand that they are doing something, that they want to start inculcating the Bureau de change, which they stopped before. They want to start inculcating them to identify them as agents, fund transfer agents, international fund transfer agents, to identify them as such. And for that reason, they will be selling funds. They are supposed to be selling funds to those Bureau de change, and made them to be remitting, that to be sending reports, weekly report, monthly report, or annual report, as the case may be. In that case, that they'll be able to trap or track funds movement from outside as their agents. Once they enlist them as agents, all their records, if they are able to do their returns, government will be able to know the funds that are coming in through foreign direct investment in one way or the other, the local ones, and also funds that our brothers and sisters outside are bringing in, which is actually very heavy. In that case, it will become easier for CBN to manage such funds. But the question is, will that, because what they gave was a gap of between minus 2.5 to plus 2.5, meaning that when they get the fund, they will not, the change they are going to put on, that is difference they are going to put on top, should not be more than 2.5% of what they purchase it from the central bank. But how are they going to control it? How are they going to control it? Our system, our economy is purely over 70% informal. A lot of things are not documented. Even today, if you go to bank, it's not everything that is being documented, especially forex transactions. It's difficult to handle. So Nigeria should be looking up to the next action that Central Bank of Nigeria will come up with. But me, I'm feeling that Central Bank of Nigeria, they have been very skeptical now, because since the suspension of the former CBN governor, I've not seen anything that has come up from the central bank to bring up a change. It's still the same routine, the same thing that they've been doing together before. So I feel now we have the ministers, with the Accountant General of the Federation is there, the Budget Office, Debt Management, all of them should meet. They should meet and discuss the economy. It's not only when they call for Federal Executive Council meeting, where the president will come there to preside. No, they should be having internal meetings, discussing the economy every time and see what to come up with in order to change the narrative. There is pressure in the system. There is pressure in the system. The labor unions, they are watching. In a short time, anything can come up. Apart from labor union, market women are also gathering themselves because prices of goods and services is beyond the reach of the poor and the market women. Then apart from that, a lot of street boys and street girls, all of them are waiting. If there is anything that spark up, then it will be highly uncontrollable, especially now that we are having pockets of crisis in different countries.
All right, away from the government, because if you ask me, most of the accusing fingers are just turning to the government's table.
Yeah.
And when we talk about reforms, we always look at the government to help us with reforms to bring things back. But before I even ask, I have two questions to ask now. Firstly, what is the part of the general masses, the part that they are paying for our Naira to be devaluing? Then secondly, what is the effect of interest rate hike on the Nigeria economy and also on the Nigeria currency right now?
Okay. You have two questions there. One is about interest rate, then the other one, what the masses are doing. Yes. The masses, when I say the masses, that is the population of the country. Majority of them are very poor. What they are targeting is what to eat. So they don't have really much to say. It's only very few investors that we have. Only very few industries or factories. If you check around your environment, what you see is houses, and you see people trooping out. Find out where they are going to. There is no industry. We cannot produce. So what they are interested in is how to eat. And if they don't have funds to eat, if they don't have money to eat, they can go into anything to eat. So that is why there is pressure in the system. The few industries, the few small and medium scale enterprises that are existing, they need help. They need help to strive. They need to strive because raising funds in Nigeria is very difficult. Small scale industries cannot easily go to bank to say they need funds because our documentation process is very bad. Apart from documentation process, then ownership structure of assets is highly unstructured in Nigeria to the extent that people don't even know what they are worth. For that reason, they cannot borrow. And the only way to correct these things is policies. And people that will come up with the policies go to the upper and the lower house. They should come up with policies to help the system. And until they come up with all those things, it will be a major problem. The masses may not be able to do much, but they will depend on policies that will help change the system. Policies that will help. It's not only through borrowing. Nigeria can also do the domestic borrowing. Domestic borrowing is through mobilizing funds from people. That means moving it from those ones that have the fund but they don't know where to invest it in, so that it will be made available through the central bank to the banks, and they regulate and monitor, supervise thoroughly the bank so that interest rates will be low. Because when the interest rate is getting higher every day, price of goods and services will be getting higher. That drives me down to what you just asked about interest rates. How does interest rates affect inflation, Abi? So if you talk of interest rates, every month the CBN they meet. After meeting, then they consider how much is costing individuals to go to bank to borrow, and how much is people are getting if they invest their fund. So they regulate that through the central bank. Then they come up with monetary policy, MPC rates, the regulatory rate that they announce. This rate that they announce will be the rate at which the central bank will give the commercial banks. If a commercial bank want to borrow, just like individuals open account with commercial bank, all commercial banks open account with central bank. So commercial banks will go to central bank to borrow money. If they want to borrow, that rate is the interest rate they will give them. If that interest rate is high, the commercial banks will go back, because if it's too high for them, they will go back, then they will increase the interest rate that they will give people that are coming to deposit. In that case, they will start looking for fixed deposit. They will increase the interest rate. As they are increasing it, people that are borrowing, they will jack up the interest rate too. So when the cost of fund is increasing for them, then they will increase the lending rate. And when lending rate is going up, no value has been added to the system, but lending rate has gone up. The bank will get more money because increase in lending rate. And that lending rate that is high already is going to be factored into cost of production. the few persons producing, who are the ones that went to borrow, will increase it will increase the cost of raw materials or increase the cost of production. Then they will increase the market price of the goods and services. Automatically, a little change in interest rates is also going to bring a bigger change in prices of goods and services outside.
Hold on. According to the CBN, the present CBN governor, they said they've met with President Tinubu and they're putting measures in place to stabilize the Naira. Even though we are yet to see that they are yet to disclose what the measures put in place is going to be. So in the coming days, what do you think we should be looking forward to? How are they going to ensure monetary and price stability?
I think the CBN, like I mentioned, they have been very skeptical. They have been very careful. Okay. Then we are watching to see on a monthly basis what they are going to come up, because they are going to monitor the economy, the economic outlook. They will give us the outlook. The CBN may not do more than what they are talking of, liaising with BDCs. Okay. Then these BDCs, listing the number of BDCs, they know the number of BDCs in the economy. Monitoring them is another issue. So they are going to be very, very careful in handling them. Ordinarily, if we have proper documentation, details of these BDCs and their capacities, then they should be able to know how much fund they'll be making available. So CBN is supposed to earmark how much each of the BDCs can come around to request for. Because if they make it blank, a BDC can come and even request for more than what 2 or 3 banks will request for at once, because they want to look for a way either to sell it through somebody to keep somewhere, data to bring in. You know, documentation is a problem for us, so CBN is being very careful. What we are looking at is that based on the announcement, prices, the movement of prices may not be as spiral. It may not be as spiral, but it will still be going up. You know, it may not be as spiral, but until they are integrated, changes may not really come up.
All right. Though we are seriously out of time now, but just let me say in 1 minute, I want you to give me your take on political economics as a thing that we need to adopt to be able to bring our Naira back to where it's supposed to be. Just in 1 minute.
Okay, I think generally in the Nigerian economy, we should know that you cannot dictate where you are not adding value. We should think of how to be adding value. Now that ministers, we have our ministers, every ministry should be thinking of how to generate funds for the nation, but be careful in generating funds so that they will not mount a lot of pressure on the system. And also they should put up a lot of checks so that they will reduce corruption. Every ministry should be accountable. The president should not handle it the way it has been handled before. Every ministry should be accountable. Oversight functions of the members of reps, they should increase their oversight functions, because if they don't do oversight functions, they will kill the system. But unfortunately, some of them are looking for money. Instead of following up with the oversight functions, if they are more interested in money, then they will collapse the system. So we should be thinking more about the nation instead of thinking about ourselves.
All right. Thank you so very much for coming on the program. All right. I so much believe that you heard it all, especially the word I picked from there is accountability. For those in power, for those that will look up to for a better Nigeria, you are there to make Nigeria a better place, and accountability is very important. Especially, let us know what is going on. The Nigerian citizen want to know how the funds that is coming in and the one that are going out are being spent for a judicious use of the economy and to make the economy come back to where it's supposed to be. Let me say our promised land. We believe Nigeria is going to be great, as I always say, and I stick to that. From here, we'll be handing you over to our Lagos studio, which we believe they have more juicy package to give to you. From here, I remain Micheal Obagiri.
Please stay tuned. I am Fatimah Ibrahim. Bye.